Okay, does that work?
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, good evening. I think we're going to get started before it gets too cold out. So, first of all, we have a number of our members from our committee, and probably some of you don't know them. So let me just introduce them quickly. That's Jay Nardone, Brendan Carroll, you all know Cindy. Brendan Driscoll. I got to talk to work with you, I'm sorry. Don Sessich, and Neil Foley. And I think that's it. Okay. Just before we get into it, with the topic tonight is swing space. Before we get too far, just kind of like quickly go over where we've been, where we are, and where we're going in this whole process so it's clear to everybody. We have just completed our part of the feasibility study, which is basically to study all the options available for the VO school to submit them to the MSBA, for their approval and scrutiny. We've done our part, it's been submitted. Wednesday, Bill and a few of us actually went into this subcommittee, it's like a preliminary review of all the options, and they had a few questions here and there. On the 28th of July, their committee will meet and make a formal recommendation on our preferred option. It could be one other option, or it could be our option with some little modifications or comments. We won't know that till the 28th, but once we get direction on the 28th, then we're really going to get into the design of the VO project, whatever it may be. And that's what they call schematic diagrams. And because we live by the MSBA schedule, we have to have that 25% schematic design to them in the early part of October so that they can meet in November, which they call the funding agreement. So now it's a sign off on the project and and the dollar amount and what they're going to fund. So that's, and then once that happens, then the big thing is the override, which has to happen within 120 days. It could happen sooner. That's a call by the selectmen of when they want to call us the override. Once we get the funding, then we continue that design into design development, which is really getting into the details, so that eventually you get a set of drawings that can go out to bid, we award a contract, and we start the project. So that's where we're going, and unlike most of the other projects we've done over the last 15 years, we're being a little bit driven by the MSBA schedule, because they give you, deadlines that you have to meet, you have to have it submitted by then, and believe me, you never saw paperwork that has to be submitted, but anyways, so that's where we are. And so tonight, we're just going to go over swing space. Now, the committee has not made any decision on swing space, whether we're going to do it or not do it. We've been discussing it. Tonight, we're going to kind of present what we've been discussing, the drawbacks and the benefits of one over the other, cost implications, and hopefully get some input back here tonight or after. Now, one of the last slides it shows there's 3 network sites you can get onto to find when the meetings are, questions, and presentations. So there's plenty of ways without physically being here to make contact with either the school committee or our committee. If you have, you walk out of here tonight and you're talking about something comes up. You have a way. It's not tonight or nothing, but at least tonight is kind of the open forum. And we also are very fortunate tonight to have Lisa McGinnis here, who just was the leading principal of Ambrose, and spent 2 years at the Parkers for swing space. And if there's questions of how they, she was the person who was there and lived through it, so she probably knows best than any of us. So as we go on, there are questions of how you handle this, how you did that. Hopefully Lisa can answer those. So if we go through the slide here, you can see tonight is the swing space topic, and just some general statements here. Our priority here is design and build an efficient and cost-effective educational field that best serves the educational needs and physical needs of the students. So naturally, cost is a factor with the MSBA, but that's not the driving factor. We want to make sure that we have the best educational facility for the VO district if we could possibly provide. And, you know, the cost is what it is, and unless it goes through the roof, then that may be a different story. Now, the VO project, I mean, we have portables in here, but the relief by making the school like the 422, it solves some district-wide, so it's just not a VO district solution. It's a town-wide district solution that hopefully we can accommodate the overcrowding and the other. And once again, we're going to try and maximize the reimbursement. The state says they're going to give us 40%. We don't know quite 40% of what number yet, but we're going to, you know, push. You know, sometimes it's so you can have only have 900 feet for a particular room, and if we can justify why it maybe should be 950 and get reimbursed, we will exhaust all of those avenues. Just quickly, this to set the framework of what we're going to talk about tonight. This is an overlay of preferred option E revised. And during some previous meetings, there was some input that we got about we wanted more play space in the front because the E one, there's a circular driveway, so we kind of shifted everything over, gives you a much bigger play space in the front. So what this is trying to show you is with that E revised, that solid black line is the new E revised, and you can see how it sets right over the gym where we're sitting here today. Will be that corner of the new building if we go with, and then this one is the two overlays of the E and the E revised. And E and E revised, as far as programming and footprint, they're basically the same. They have the same number of classrooms, maybe side. It's just that this here, E, it came this way, cut into the play field. So when we did E revised, it moved this way. So it's hard to see because she's overlaid three, the existing E and E revised, but the original E would wind up just setting on the edge of the gymnasium. It wouldn't be into the gymnasium, but you could probably reach out the window and touch it while it was under construction. So it is very close, but you know, it really, if you push, and somebody said, well, you don't want to use swing space, you wouldn't do it because you were encroaching upon the building. Maybe other reasons why you use swing space, but that wouldn't be compared to the other option where we're right into the building. So that just gives you a framework. So what we try to do here was give, you know, cost and benefits of using swing space and cost and benefits if you use the current building. And if we use swing space, we figure if we don't use swing space and the way the site is laid out, the contractor would have to come on site, probably build a new school, come back to tear down the old one, and it always costs more when the contractor's on the site and leaves, plus the fact that it'd be very congested out front, so there may be some coordination with school activities that may lead to schedule delays and additional costs. It may be all those types of things. So based on our experience from the people on the EPC, and there's plenty of them that have kind of this experience, it was estimated that could be between $300,000 and $500,000 that we could add to the cost of the project by, you know, trying to build a new school and still keep the VO open. Children's safety and health, naturally, the new school somehow, whether it's going to be built more toward the front, the existing school's back here, children got to get in, get out, buses, drop off, children to walk to school and all that. So once again, that even adds into some of the costs because there probably have to be some sort of, you know, special accommodation for the children coming in, being dropped off or walked up. You know, Lisa remembers when we did the Ambrose school, even though they went there, walking by, we actually hired 2 crossing guards at each entrance to the construction during the morning and the afternoon when they were walking by, just to make sure. So there's all these little costs. So that's kind of where that number comes from. You know, if we're doing work on site and it's only here, gets into query checks, and that becomes a lengthy process and some expense to do with that. You know, naturally, when they're building, if anybody's had any work done in the house, materials all aren't stored inside, they're outside, so that, there could be materials out there that some kids may get inquisitive about. You have to take precautions they could get into. Once construction traffic and equipment, I don't know how many cars the staff here at the end of the day, but they still have to come here, and then you have all the construction workers who are going to come here, and construction workers, because they come from all over, beat traffic. They're here at 6 o'clock in the morning, so they're going to get all the premiums basically before the staff even shows up. So once again, that's another concern. Construction activity, when they're erecting steel, there's going to be some heavy equipment out here, and they're going to be doing some excavation, backhoes and all that. So there's that, noise and fumes and what have you. And then the last one ties in a little bit that if we do have construction going on and we have, heavy equipment out there, we may want to be doing, air quality testing in the school to make sure we're not getting fumes or dust or whatever the case may be. So those are why you wouldn't have to worry about those, swing space. All right. Once again, if we go with the revised one, the gym is gone, so you won't have gym, and the construction going on there, so you don't have the play field, so you really don't have anywhere for physical education, school assemblies. When they come to vote, the PTO, I guess, would be meeting here. I've said a lot of the front field, and once again, the construction park and storage on the playground site out there. Once again, if because of all this, we feel it could take 2 to 3 months longer to construct it. Trying to keep the school open. So we've worked out some schedules, but with that, it could possibly jeopardize, because the goal is to move in September of 2013. So, if we had, for some reason, all this, it delays it. One of the schedules is that we would build a whole new school after the school's open, and then come back and tear down the old one. Well, that, we probably would not do that, but that's one of the considerations. So we're looking to figure that it was reduce the amount of construction time. We can do the foundation and demo work earlier. So if we moved out, they could come up and do the demo and the foundation work before we even issue a contract for the general contractor. So we pick up in the schedule because that part would be done. Once again, it's a construction delays because of, trying to coordinate different things, and, the delays in a couple of days. Contractors always come back looking for more time and money. 2 or 3. And once again, get back into the contractor will be on the site once, and he will leave when the total job is finished, and not back and forth. And let's see, what else do we have here, Bill? Okay, now if we, naturally the swing space we'll be using this park first. We toured that, last Wednesday, the same day we went to the MSBA, and I haven't been in there since the Ambo School left it, and it's in, well, it's not in as bad shape as it appears, because there's a lot of the kids get in there and there's papers all over the place and what have you, but it is going to cost some money to fix it. But one of the benefits, in addition to using the swing space, because there's been, concern about other people in town that, we got a valuable asset in town that's just kind of sitting there rotting away. So, though, we're not going to, make it whatever it's going to be eventually, but this would go away of getting some of that work done at this time. And then it could be, used for other town offices. There's a possibility that after we're through, that the central office may move up there, which would help relieve. So it has not only does it benefit the VO school, but it has some, benefits to the town as a whole. Once again, as he said before, traffic and safety, we get all these people going onto a site that's very small to start off. I think it's roughly like 60 parking places up there for the staff and parents. And the construction is into it. You could have 60 cars out there with construction people. So, and now we get into the benefits of the state DO. And one of them being is that we wouldn't have to spend approximately $1 million at Parkhurst to fix it up. Now, one of the things when you net it out, if we use swing space and we save, $500,000 in extra construction costs, that number gets reduced down. And that just right now is $1 million. We're not too sure exactly what, I mean, it's an order of magnitude. It's not going to come up to $100,000, I can tell you that. Once again, you wouldn't have to be moving equipment and technology and the library stuff down to Ambrose. And then, adapting to the new building, I don't know how much. Lisa could probably, it'd take them a week or 1 day or what it is. I think my wife was in the midst of when they did McCall. The kids adapted pretty quick to it, but I don't know. I mean, that was, middle school kids and how elementary school. Transportation, now they may see some additional transportation costs if some kids are now going to Parkhurst that maybe walk, maybe with the bus. So there may be some cost involved in that once we find out where they all live. And then, once again, that's, walking to and from school, we leave some of the parking because the parents wouldn't be dropping them off. And once again, students they're very familiar with the building here because they've been going here. And it would still be a new territory when they go to the Parkhurst. Then we have the unknowns of transition. How much conflict is it going to be with the construction? In fact, the students will increase move to once or twice because they're going to move out, move back. Would we have it ready in time to move in September 2011? We think with the schedule we have now, if it goes the way we think it is, we can do that. But there's always that, until we really get into it, there's always that uncertainty. And then the lessons learned from Ambrose, use of the park, and then there's the Parkhurst, and maybe Lisa can shed some light on that. And then some of the considerations, if we did move the Parkhurst, the playground equipment, we would probably, I know at Ambrose, we took their playground equipment and put it in storage, and then we went to put it back in some parts missing. So I think we would probably take the playground equipment here, I don't know if we get all of it, but a good portion of it, and actually move it to the Parkhurst site and set it up there. Because I don't think there's not really a heck of a lot of playground equipment there. Technology, there was a lot of technology put in the school when we used it. That was a few years ago. Technology changes, so there may be more technology needed. We would take that into consideration. As I said, I mentioned transportation, and then handicap accessibility. We would have to make some accommodations for that naturally. And like the walkway going in is probably, I know it's a wrong slope. I get trouble walking up it, right? And then the gym, getting down to the gym and all that. So we would address those issues, and then scheduling the move, how we're going to do the move. I would think it'd be preferable if you move in at the beginning of the year, and not the middle of the year, any more than if the new VL was finished in April. I don't think you'd want to move April vacation. You'd probably wait till this fall in September. So those are all the considerations. As I said, here's our public hearing schedule. We're here tonight, Tuesday night, August 17th. July 26th is traffic and parking. The town is engaged prior to me getting into this, a traffic consultant that they've been working out at the corner of Ridge and Johnson. We have the same traffic consultant, so we've been tying it together with them, and we've already had a few, they wanted to bring a roadway in from Ridge Street, and that was kind of not practical because of the terrain out there, and then they wanted to bring another one in through the signage park out here, and I don't think that would have flown with the environmentalists, the conservationists, so it appears that whatever form it takes, there'll be, the entrance in out of Johnson Road. We've already, pretty much decided that, there'll be a cutback in the front of the school for drop-off on the buses, similar to what is at Ambrose. So I think that pretty much covers everything that we've discussed. So I guess we can open it up to questions. If anybody has a question, an idea, a better idea that we've come up with, we're open. Yes.
Can you just... Yeah, my name's Patty Cooley. I was just wondering if you could give more detail about what needs to be done at Parkhurst and how long you think it would take to get that done?
Well, the engineers are going through it. It's a laundry list, and I mean, there's some flooring work that needs done. It definitely needs, you know, a good cleaning and painting. There's some, the boiler, the boiler's here. I actually asked Mark Tugler to ask Peter Lawson whether the boiler's ever been fired off since then. I mean, it may be okay, but there may be some tune-up in the boiler room. The gym floor would probably have to be taken up in some sort of another flooring put down because it really rippled. I don't think you could use it for anything, you know, without having some sort of safety concern. There is some discussion going upon whether it needs actually a whole new roof or what the extent is. Once again, I've asked Peter. I don't know I know Peter wants to replace it. I didn't know whether he wants to do that because it's on a normal cycle to be replaced, or whether they're actually having some problems. Now, there didn't appear to be, when we were there, too much, you know, water damage. It appeared to be some of it that was on the other walls. Appeared from, it looked like the downspouts and the gutters were all clogged, so that the water may be actually seeping down alongside the foundation and penetrating it there. So, you know, there'd probably be some, you know, new flooring, new technology. Naturally, the ceiling in the library we talked about, we would probably take the old one there down and then put a suspended ceiling up there in its place. And I think there was one other room, or two other rooms, where they had a similar type of thing. So we would put new ceilings in those areas that needed. So that's kind of like the. I think some of the lockers are kind of rusty. Whether we, yeah, sometimes it's cheaper to buy all new lockers than to try to take them out and refinish them and put them back. That's all the details that we'll get into. But those are some of the things that I saw, you know, walking through. Yes.
Hi, my name's Brenda Mandel. I just had a question about the size of Parkhurst. Is it big enough to accommodate the kids, and would it change any of the classroom sizes? Or anything?
Well, a lot. I mean, when we did Lincoln, they split. I was 1 to 3 and 4 to 5 of the classes, and some went to Mystic and some went to Parkhurst. When we did Ambrose, because there's 2 portables up there as well, the whole of Ambrose fit in one location. So
we had less than 300. I don't know how many, 15 classes?
We have 15 classes
Right.
here, and there's 16.
There are the same number of classrooms up there that we have now, 15. There's separate space for art, music, there's a gym, there's a separate library, and then there's...
Nurse, office, principal's office, like administrative area.
Does not have a cafeteria.
So they'll be right at home, we said.
Yes.
Yeah, we use the gym. Like so you guys would
They use
use
the
whatever.
classroom.
So, right.
Yeah, so that could be, you know, the staff could decide how they wanted to do lunch. They could continue to do it the same way, or the cafeteria, the gymnasium could be open. The gymnasium is bigger than this,
Right.
almost twice the size.
It's large.
At least 1.5 size the time, at least. The floor in the gym would have to be replaced, and that's one of the items that had been identified. And then there's breakout space for special education, OT, etc.
Behind some of the classrooms is like these little office areas that we
Yeah.
had OT, speech and language, reading teachers. It was very, very convenient, very nice. It really was. It worked out great for us for 2 years that we were there.
yes.
I'm Roger Hain. Bob, that $1 million estimate, how solid is that? It sounded like you had a lot of things that you saw. Is there,
Well, when the architect went through with their engineers, I mean, they kind of, when they saw the condition of the boiler, I mean, they're going to give you the worst case. They figured, like, the boiler has to be replaced, so they put a big number in there for it. They had, like, they were going to replace all the tiles on the floor with carpets, which we probably wouldn't do, probably go back to ECT. So that's what I'm saying, there's a lot of things that they put in there, and they were kind of looking at it like, don't get me wrong, not that we're not going to make that facility a good facility that's used as swing space for educational purposes and all that, but we're not going to make it like it could, the master plan is that it could be used for anything, because we don't know what that anything is. So we kind of, but when the architects and the engineers went through it, they were looking at everything, which, you know, if they did, we'd probably fault them and say, why didn't you include that or bring that to our attention? So they kind of, you know, signed this dollar amount to us. So as I say, I don't think, you know, we're going to put carpeting in the cars. We'll probably put DCT. So there's a big difference. I said the boiler maybe just needs, you know, a tune-up and the thing runs fine. You know, the fire alarm system is, you know, it's old, but when we went to Parkhurst, the fire department made its upgrade part of it because we had to water it. So it has been at least upgraded to what the fire department would take as a minimum. If we were doing it really over, we'd probably rip it all out and put up, you know, brand new system. So I think that's why we you know, whether it's $1 million or 900 or whatever the case be, at this point, I mean, it's in that ballpark.
so as I had heard someone mention a number closer to $3 million or something, it's not.
Well, there was a existing building condition study done actually by the same architect we had, but not through us, but through the town. And they looked at it. If you were to use that for any possible use, I mean, in it with as far as all the things that you'd have to do to bring that building up to code and be a class 1 building. Back then, they had, as I remember, there was 3, like if you just wanted to use it for this, or you want to, you know, crank it up one more notch, and then the final ultimate was like $3 million. There was a $3 million price tag on that existing building study that said, you know, to go in and it's like, you know, the Sanborn House. You know, they've made a lot of improvements, but there'd be a lot more money if they had it. They'd do all that stuff at Sanborn.
That figure, Roger, includes a brand new roof, all new ceilings to the original structure that would come down. It includes a total replacement of the HV heating ventilation.
So it's a much more permanent approach.
Yeah, if you spent that $3 million, that building is a, you know, is a permanent asset to the town. It's up to the snuff to everything else. Any other questions, input?
I think, I mean, I'm sure you guys have done a lot of studies, but just as a parent here, and I live very close to the school, like a stone's throw, and I have to say I was kind of sad about the thought of swing space because we walk to school, but after listening to you, it seems like it makes the most sense to go to swing space. Like all the different things that you said, particularly from a parent's point of view, the space, like the kids are going to need space, you know, and if you try to build a school right next to it, they're not going to have any indoor or outdoor space to move around, and it's something, these classrooms are great, but they're not confining.
I think there's a great opportunity too, which we didn't really talk about, where kids are pretty flexible anyway, but I think we can make this a little bit of an adventure for them, where they can be getting, you know, monthly pictures of the site, and we can bring in some architects and work with them on designs and how it comes to be in engineering studies, and I think the kids will settle in. But one of our biggest concerns was just making sure that they had space to play.
Right.
And when you have to block off this whole field and the gym, and they're eating in their classrooms, it doesn't
Long
need
winter day.
it doesn't need much room for them to run around and get their wiggles out.
And then like federal mandates, I don't know if there's anything like that.
Yeah, I
So they're
mean,
gonna bus them somewhere to go to phys ed?
no, well, physical education, the curriculum would change, and we basically would be doing physical education in the classrooms,
Yeah,
in the halls.
yeah.
I
My
mean,
biggest
that would
concern
be-
is about the traffic here with the traffic here is very unpleasant right now. So I can't imagine what it would be like being in the building when construction going on, you know, we have people driving on the sidewalk, you know, because they can't get in and out of the parking lot, they drive up and over the sidewalk. You know, really crazy things like that.
Yeah, I mean, what, when
And-
they,
And then what would it be like during construction? You know, you have a lot of things on here about you don't have your PTO meeting space, you don't have your PTO fundraising space, you know. You know, you don't have your community space for the school. We're sitting in our community space for the school. That will be gone as well. I don't have an opinion either way, you know, but my biggest concern is, you know, is drop off, pick up, safety of the kids, and things like that. And it seems like you guys are all paying attention to that as well.
And I'll just pipe in, because I have a daughter who was we're at Amherst now, but she went to Parker for a year. And, you know, it's not beautiful, it's not fancy, but it's quite serviceable.
Their teachers are going to be there. That's how I feel about my kids.
Yeah.
My kids will be fine wherever they go because their teachers are going to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
So they're going to be
about
perfectly
the
fine.
space.
We didn't
Yeah.
take up our play structure, because we put it, and it was amazing what the kids figured out what to do. Like, they don't need play structure. They use the field is beautiful. And so we just bought some different playground equipment, but they really adapted, and they loved it. And then the kindergarten classes, we set up, there's a little hardtop area right outside that you can walk right out of each classroom. And there was a hardtop area for the kindergarten. And so the kids would just go right out there and play instead of going out to the field. So they had their own little play area in the morning or whatever when they had kindergarten. So that was easy too.
Lisa, what did you do with bus drop-off?
You know, it's so funny, but when you asked me that the other day, Samoset, we made it a one-way between like, I think around 8:15 to 8:45, because we started at 8:45. So we had a crossing guard at the bottom there, and we made it one way, and we also made it one way from say 2:30 to 3. Buses could come up, and the buses dropped off right in the front of the building, so the kids, I don't think they parked on the hill. You walked. I'm really having a hard time remembering. I think they may have gone up, and then they pulled around where the staff parked to go back down. I don't know what road that is. I know.
Buses did a loop. Andrews?
Take a right on Andrews. So I think they parked there and then pulled around to the staff parking lot to go back down. So only buses came up there. All the cars dropped off on Samoset.
And the kids come into the gym first thing?
Kids came into the gym. Yeah.
Right through that lower.
They were right through the lower level. Buses dropped them off and they would come down and around and go through there. And we gathered in the gym. Again, that's something that we do. You know, VO does it a little differently. But they waited there and the teachers came down and got them and brought them back to their classrooms.
do you have a question, Paul?
I just had one of the comment that Paul Callis, one of our Falls Collaborative Partners, we're the owner's project manager for the building committee. And one of my colleagues has a elementary school project in Middleton, Mass, where that community had made the choice not to provide the swing space and to, to have the construction of the new school happen exactly adjacent to the existing school. And as a result of that, there is no playground space, and the students are bused for recess twice a day to be bused like 3 blocks away to a town park, because the members of the community didn't want to spend the extra money to provide the swing space. But of course, it incurs other costs such as the expenses of busing kids for recess.
Now, who would then have to approve this money? This is not a small amount of money, who would make the decision?
Well, once we get the funding agreement from the state, and that part of the agreement is basically just for the construction of the building, the BO is whatever preferred option it is. Any swing space money, right, is on, we pay, they don't reimburse it. So, I mean, we could spend $5 million, $10 million, they don't really care because they're not gonna reimburse you money. But what we will put together is a total project cost. So the cost of the construction, plus all the, you know, technology and furniture and all that, we'll get a project cost, and that's X number of dollars, and to that, we'll add, if we do swing space, we add that to it. That all then becomes a subject of an override. So the override will be that bottom line total, and only the school part of it will the MSBA be funding 40%. So that's how it'll all get funded. So now I said that could happen as late as March. It could probably happen as early as December, if, you know, depending upon when the selectmen. But once we get the funding agreement, we really can't move any forward because we can't have any work done unless we have the money. So we can't expend money that hasn't been appropriated. So the town meeting, the town would have to vote for an override, which say is in March. Our intent is in November to go to the fall town meeting just to ask for approval for this project pending MSBA approval and a successful override. So once that happens in March, we don't have to wait to go to, say, the spring town meeting, that's delayed. So say it's in March 12th, the override. Conceivably, March 15th, we could sign a contract with somebody and say, go ahead and start the work, because we now have the money available to us. So that's how that process works. So it all gets lumped into one lump sum, whatever the cost may be. Yes, Brenda?
The one piece, the only piece that the MSBA doesn't kind of manage for us is the swing space piece. So the town of Winchester could decide to spend $10 on swing space, and they would decide to spend $10 million. That's the only piece of the whole project that MSBA really doesn't have any say.
Did they even have, so do they have a say in recommending swing space? They don't even do that?
No, I mean, all they're looking at is a facility that we're going to build
Yeah.
meets their
That's all they-
programming
that's all
standards.
they-
We have, and they think it's the most cost effective. And everything beyond that, they're really not interested in. I would say not interested in it. I mean, they've already asked about swing space, but I mean, as far as the money that they have to reimburse to the town, that's not on their plate, so they wouldn't get involved in that.
The only other thing I said, and I think you alluded to this earlier, was that you would really make an effort to keep it on the school year as opposed to trying to transition people mid-year. I think that would.
Yeah, I think, as I said, we've worked out a schedule, like the override goes, and that we would move into swing space, say, in September 2011, and you'd be there for a full 2 academic years, and then September 2013, move back. So we're not trying to do it, you know, mid-year, or, you know. I mean, it'd be worse if, you know, I think, you know, if you try to do it, say, in October, I mean, in this school for a month, and then, I mean, if you're gonna do it, probably better wait till February, but that isn't ideal, but it'd probably even worse if you try to do it in October. So, the intent here is, and the schedule, it will work, I mean, it will take some effort, but is that swing space, they would move in September 2011.
There's a much better chance we're gonna be able to move into the new building in the fall of 2013. Because what happens is they can come, demolish the whole thing and just build, versus having to come in, demolish half of it, build, come back, demolish the other part. So it's a really tight window if we don't use swing space, and with construction there are just inherent conflicts, so.
It's a lot. You can sell me on it, I think you can sell anybody.
Let's talk about it.
Are you gonna need swing space for your house?
So it's gonna come down to, just like the whole project, how the vote will go on an override, including swing space. So you can recommend swing space, and then we have to sell it to the rest of the town.
Right. I've been around town for quite a while. As far as the override probably is concerned, whether there's swing space in here or not, I mean, it's going to be a large number, so it's
Right.
kind of, you know, whether it's another $800,000 or not, I wouldn't think that would be a deal breaker. I mean, it'd be the whole concept if it's going to be a deal breaker. So I don't think whether we use swing space or not. I mean, there'd be some people who, you know, maybe don't like swing space or not, but I mean, I don't think it would be a significant factor in how the override comes out. I mean, it's more how we sell the project than anything.
Bob, did you say that $1 million swing space would be on the override? Is there no problem? I have this vague recollection of hearing that there are very specific rules about what can be on an override. Only, is it as broad as only related to reconstructed design? For example, you couldn't combine this with something else like high school or something.
Well, the way, when actually you have the override, you can word an override question any way you want, and classic example is Marblehead. They put all their eggs in one basket, and everything went down. So, you would, because of bond council, you wouldn't mix, well, you could mix if you would go like a multiple, say, the high school here, the other thing, you could, if it was voted that way, the bond council would okay. But anything associated with this, if we put a number through and say we want to raise this amount of money to an override, and it's anything in this project, as long as bond council okays the way it's worded, then you can spend the money on that.
There were no specific MSBA rules about
No, the only thing the MS, and I asked them this the other day, that John, the only thing the MSBA requires is that the wording of the override be passed to them for their legal counsel review. It's the only involvement they get in with, now, the Ambrose School, there wasn't an override for the Ambrose School. The Ambrose School was paid out of the Building Stabilization Fund, which was subject to an override before. So they wouldn't, that takes to the town meeting vote. They wouldn't get involved in it because there's no override, or they want to see how it's legally worded. If we do go, we will be going for some sort of an override. All they want, send us, we review the wording with our legal counsel, we bless off, and that's fine.
Did they say what the legal counsel is looking for? Anything?
Yeah, they have a template. So there's specific wording of the votes, of the override question, and there's also specific wording of the town meeting vote that we have to follow. But they have a template.
Yeah, I think one of the things why they look at it is, and they've told us before, say the override vote fails, and like going back when we did Nepal, and it failed, and we went back and we made some changes, took the floor off, and went back on the override. Well, you just can't do that with MSBA. They want to look at the results of the override. If it was, a big margin and lost by, then it depends upon that, whether they make us start the process over again, or say, okay, go back and just get a better campaign and do that. So I think they just want to make sure that however we worded it, that, it was worded to pass and not to fail.
Bob, Lisa, did you have any other feedback or insights from using the swing space? Was there surprises or?
There really wasn't. What surprised us is how comfortable we were. And just how close everyone felt, just the 2 floors, and compared to where the old building that we were in, and how bad that was, going up to Parkhurst was a nice change. And it really was. And it was exciting to be able to see the kids would walk by the construction site. We got extra, you may need more buses because some of your homes are a little further from Parkhurst than some of the Ambrose kids were. So we had a lot of walkers still in that area. I'm not sure exactly how yours will work, but it was great. It really was. We had Bill Ricker House of Correction to paint it for us for free.
Well, almost. We had to buy them lunch.
Oh yeah, we bought them lunch, that's right.
$900, we had the whole school.
We didn't have any money. We didn't have any money to do any of
And
it.
they did a good job.
So to get the money to fix it up is going to be great.
Okay, as I say, this isn't the end all. We have this, 4 or 5 week period between now and the 28th of July before the MSBA makes a decision to, because we can't go any further what we're doing, so we're starting to, discuss these things so that we're a little bit ahead of the curve when it comes and we can make a rational decision. So, you know, if anybody still has any questions.
Well, I can say a couple of things.
Go.
about the upcoming meetings.
All right.
So at the end of July, this meeting will take place a couple of days before the MSBA board votes on the preferred option that they'll tell us to go forward with the schematic design. But there are still options as we begin schematic design to finalize the parking and what the play space, the configuration of the play space and the traffic will be. That can be finalized and adjusted during schematic design. And that's an important part of the first part of schematic design. So that's what the topic will be on Monday the 26th. Tuesday the 17th, we will know by then the MSBA's decision on the preferred option. So the goal of that meeting is to update those who are in attendance with that, as well as starting to look at what the interior design, what the layout, you know, where the rooms will be, where the library will be, and start finalizing those plans. So we'll be looking for feedback on that. And then Monday will be our last opportunity to kind of look at where the architect is with the final design before we submit it. Still time to maybe get a little bit of feedback, and then we meet the October 1 deadline. So, you know, the goal here is to provide as much information as possible. We will be putting updates on our website. If you go to the school district's homepage, right on the front, there's a Vison Owen link. You can go right there. This slide presentation will be put on tomorrow, and you can still provide feedback and comments through our website. There's a link right there. And also the FEBC, we asked you, the meetings during the summer are not held bi-weekly on Wednesdays, but check the town's website, and those meetings are posted well in advance, and you can monitor those activities through the summer.
So it will be I call it your alphabet soup,
We like that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I got it down after 15 years. I got it down pretty
I
good.
assume along with input from you and the school committee, who is going to decide swing space, to go for swing space or not? That's whose decision it ultimately is.
The EFPBC will make a recommendation, and the school committee will,
Yeah, one from the,
Kind of get a handle on that.
the way it will work is once we, come to what we think the school is going to look like, and this, we will, because actually, we've done it anyhow, but the MSBA will require that the school committee sign off on it. So we would take the whole plan, whether it's swing space or not swing space, present it to the school committee, and then, they vote it up or vote it down, or make any recommendations. But we've always done that. At the MSBA, everything we do, usually have to have the school committee sign off and do a signature, so that was signature. So that will be part of the process.
I just have one quick question. Is anybody here tonight against swing space? I'm just curious to hear if anyone is against it.
I was originally.
I was also, I'll be honest with you, I was also until a couple of weeks ago when we talked about the fact that even if a portion of the gym would have to come down to the play field would be gone.
Well, I sort of thought, okay, so they lose some of the fields. I grew up going to parochial school. We played on a hard top, and like you said, kids adapt, and I figured that's fine. They don't need this big open space. But when they lose their gym, I think that's tough. So
and there literally won't be any hot top available either.
yeah,
Because whatever space is left will be barely enough space for parking for staff. And we imagine that all of the space out front will be staging.
Yeah, I mean, you got to
Contract.
if you look at the outline of the building, when they constructed it, they're well beyond that, and whether that's 200 or 300 feet. So So you look and say, well, schedule, that's the, but when you look at construction, they're gonna be up here, so that space, they bring their trailers in, you know, they may be using a bulldozer today and not tomorrow, so they have to store it someplace to site. So you get all that additional space that gets used up in the private construction activity.
It's up there now. Just-
Well, yeah, I know what they're going up
I
to
mean,
the
if you
pond,
just
but
look
yeah.
at the small amount of equipment out there for the construction on the street, when that started, the first time I drove by, I was like, how are they gonna have the kids in school? And they already have these trucks on the field just for the construction for the street. You know, I drove by one day last week, a woman with kids in a stroller, one attached to her hand. There's even a policeman there, and people are driving, you know, past to stop traffic because they don't see the policeman. And all you're thinking is, okay, we need the whole town to drive by here because, you know, how can we not use swing space when you just see this small project happening?
Even in the best of situations, you know, the contractor's business is a very different use of education. If you're up there, you've got it all to yourself, and there isn't this conflict of two different types of uses.
Right.
I think there's a lot of concern from people who live in this immediate area where their children got used to walking to school, and now that's going to completely change, and, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's natural. I mean,
You know, yeah, so.
People who live by the Parkhurst will be able to.
Oh,
Okay, anything else?
I'll only say that the architect did come out and plotted out the potential new building
Yeah,
out
that's-
here.
yeah.
So if you want afterwards, I can show you where that is on the field, so you can get a sense for us visual learners as to what that looks like.
All right, Patty.
I'm gonna ask you one more time about the cost of the swing space. So when do you think you'll have that firmed up? Because there are a couple of big open items, the roof and the boiler, you know, when are you gonna have a sense of those?
Well, as I say, right now, we really can't spend any money in getting into the details of it, because we don't have any money in it, so definitely, you know, we've gone through the walkthrough. We can probably, as a committee, go back with that estimate, and then maybe some of those things and whittle it down, or maybe actually, I don't know, but until we really have the money for the engineers to get into it and come up with scopes of work and bid documents, we really, I mean, we wouldn't know the exact amount. So that's probably, I would say, put in our schedule, if the override passes in March, we figured like about a couple of months of getting all that and then putting it out to bid like in May, so that the work would all be done during the summer in 2011.
So we've got to approve it before we have a sense of what we're approving?
Pardon me?
We have to approve it before we have a sense?
No, we're not, well, we're approving the concept of swing space.
Well, the architect had a general detailed breakdown.
Right.
Can we, I think we can provide that to the finance.
Well,
committee.
yeah, you can look, I mean, you just gotta understand, you know, when we first did McCall, I got burned, I'm not gonna let it happen again. When I went to the capital planning committee, we just said, oh, it may be $4 or $5 million, right? And they wrote that down in stone, and they went to the bank with it, right? And that was just like a wild ass guess at that time. So I don't wanna, you know, get anybody to think it's $1 million and say, wow, you're talking now it's 1 point. You know,
Oh, we're down.
well, now, we can give it to you as long as when you get that information, you understand that the form method is in.
Okay, because I'm thinking like, you know, the Lynch roof is 1.3 million, and you're talking about roof and the Morocco boiler is 1.4 million, so I'm going to change, you know, $4 million to swing space. I don't know if that's where we're headed, so it just would be nice to know if
Yeah.
we could patch these things up or if we need to replace them.
Yeah, I mean, we can get that in sense of the finance committee, and as long as they understand the context that's being given to them, I don't know.
Fair enough.
Yes, Betsy?
Well, I mean, I'm just remembering, I'm just sort of taking a little trip down memory lane about 12 years ago when we were doing the roof repairs over at the Morocco and trying to do part of that work when there were actually kids in the building. It was a frickin' disaster. Oh, there was a fire. I mean, it's just the danger to the children.
I mean,
And that's, you know, and the cost of that, I can tell you.
I don't think
know
it's a
what
good
I'll
idea.
do.
I didn't raise my hand when he said, does anybody not want swing space? I think it's a good idea.
And I just keep
I
that
like
back in
gyms
the
for
back of my
kids.
head.
I'm all for it. I just would like to know what we're signing up for.
She's a very good I'm with you.
Yes.
Might there be some other benefit to the town? I mean, is there other use after this construction? That
Oh,
seems
yes.
like-
Well, yeah, no, that's just it. I mean, one of the options is because, you know, it's overcrowded, I mean, the central office could move up there.
Yeah.
You could move up, maybe say, move the rec department to the Mystic, and I mean, the Mystic's had a lot of work done to it. You might be able to, you know, use Mystic for something else because you move, and then, I mean, it's endless. I mean, you could go whatever way you want, because the more you think of it, you know, that gets closer to that $3 million number that they originally came up with. But, yeah, I mean, it's also, I mean, it's a town piece of property, it's an asset, it's a valuable asset. It can be used for anything, that we have. I mean, you could have, you know, you have a fire at town hall, they're gonna move the people at town hall. I mean, it could be any of those things, but as long as you have it, and maintain it, and it's yours, you can use it for anything you want.
But the school committee will submit a letter to the FPDC saying their intentions of Parkhurst, and that will direct us as to how much we're going to invest.
Yeah, I guess, I'm not gonna push the word to the school committee, if they're gonna do that or not, but, you
You're
know.
going to tell us what you want to use the building for, and we'll know how much we need to
I
invest
mean, that's-
for that use.
If they can do that, that's fine. Okay. Anything else? Oh, okay.
As a VO parent, I just wanted to thank you all. Obviously, you have put a lot of time and effort into this, and you are taking all of our parental concerns.
Well, we thank you for coming
in
tonight.
mind, because
You know,
there's a lot.
we value everybody's input and suggestions and ideas. And they'll all deserve some discussion. I can't guarantee what that comes out of the discussion, but they'll all deserve to have it discussed and all that. Nothing will be, you know.
My
thrown out
daughter
at the end.
does want to know if she can be kept back in 5th grade, because they'll be going to McCall in September 2013. So she actually asked where I was going to, and I told her what the meeting's about, and she literally said to me, "Mommy, can I stay back? Because I want to go to the new VO," and I said,
It can't be
"No."
arranged.
I was just gonna.
That's what she says now.
I know. It was very sweet, and it was very comical at the
Like,
same
you
time.
can hang out by the CVS for a little bit.